Hi, and welcome to Amped EV Podcast. I am David Sickles, the editor for The Buzz.
And I'm Jason Morgan, content director for Fleet Equipment. How are you, David?
I'm well. How are you?
I am amped. Amped.
I'm also amped.
We are talking, we had the hydrogen infrastructure conversation last time.
Yeah.
We're going to look at charging. I know we've touched on it a bit, right? But there's been lots of developments. We-even in our own backyard.
Really?
I have something for you here.
Okay.
So I got this. If you want to turn your attention to the monitor.
Okay.
We got Ashley. We got a picture here to show you. Look at that.
Wow.
Isn't that, so let me give you a little context for what you're looking at and why I brought this up. So that is in Akron, Ohio, just a stone's throw from this studio. This is not California, as you can tell by that gray overcast sky there and the dead plants there at the planter. This is Akron, Ohio. And I went to the bank to do your usual things you do at the bank.
Sure.
And I was coming around and I stopped, I probably almost caused an accident because I slammed on the brakes. I was like, egads, look at this. We have an electric car in an electric car space actually charging, and it was 20 degrees out. This is cold weather electric vehicle operation. And I had to stop. I was a maniac. Slam on my brakes, pull out my phone. I got to take a picture of this not very big deal thing. But I feel like this indicates a turning point. At least for me, this is the first time I've seen locally. I mean, you see the spots at Walmart, and no one's ever parked there. No one's ever doing.
Very
this is
rare.
the first time that I saw here at Akron, Ohio, it actually happening, and I thought this is happening. My favorite part is, I don't know if we can zoom in, maybe on the side it says 4-hour limit. I'm just wondering who's at the bank for 4 hours. Now, sometimes the line you get in there, you're going to spend 4 hours at the bank.
Sure.
And you're like, oh my God, I had something to do today. But I guess if you're charging your electric car, you just hang out, pull out your phone. Maybe you actually sit in one of those seats that's at the bank for some reason.
Right. Right. That's, this is pretty cool.
I know.
Like you said, I have seen them around, but it's usually a Walmart or a Target parking lot. It's, this is great to see.
No, and no one's ever using it.
It's rare.
And there we go. It is
rare.
Happening right here in Akron, Ohio.
And it is interesting. I do see them driving around. I mean, they're getting more plentiful. More people are interested in electric vehicles now. I see them around, but do I see them charging? Not very often.
No. Well, they're charging at home, right?
At home,
sure.
of course, yeah.
But you can do it when you go to the bank now for 4 hours.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well.
I know. So anyway, I thought I'd show that.
On that note, that might be one of the electric vehicle charging station locations that the Department of Energy recognizes on their website.
Could be.
Now, they don't, as far as I know, I don't think they have account for physical chargers because that would get a little ridiculous with all the chargers in the homes and everything. But as far as locations where you can go and you can park your car just like this bank and charge your car, they count 46,286 in the U.S.
Okay.
But that's going to grow by quite a bit over the next 8 years or so.
Right.
If you're paying any attention to what the Biden administration is doing, what they're trying to accomplish with charging, they have an action plan to create 500,000 additional chargers by the year 2030. Obviously, this administration is putting a lot of effort into really kind of growing electrification in the U.S. As a result of this law, what they're really trying to do is take these chargers and not just kind of put them in the locations that you might expect. They're really trying to focus more so on low-income areas or areas where charging is going to be a lot more difficult to come by normally. Yeah. So with that said, charging over the next 10 years or so is going to become, this bank that you showed me here, this is going to become much more commonplace, no matter where you are in the U.S., hopefully.
Right. No, anything about the places that you'd want to see it in and, movie theaters, maybe, I don't know if anyone goes to movie theater anymore, if those exist. People go.
I've heard.
my kid's doctor office. Can you put one there? Because I am there like for 10 days. I feel like when you go in, you're waiting. The dentist, put one in at my dentist so I feel like I'm doing something productive for that kind of agony.
You know what's interesting about the number 500,000 as far as charging stations goes?
No, what's interesting about this number?
That is 4 times the amount of gas stations that the U.S. currently has.
Okay. That makes sense, though, because it's almost like a decentralization of the charging, right?
Absolutely.
You don't have to go to a point. It's just kind of wherever you are, which is really nice, really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So this kind of stuff is huge. We've got Electrify America. Obviously, they're they develop charging stations, and they are one of the bigger names in charging. They have their own plan to double the amount of charging stations that they have in the U.S. and Canada, I believe, by 2025.
Right.
So, that includes having more than 1,800 fast charging stations and 10,000 individual chargers by the end of 2025. That's going to bring them to, I believe, if not every state in America, pretty darn close to it, maybe 49 or so. But I mean, that's a big deal.
Right.
Having this ability to charge on the go, perhaps at your kid's doctor's office or wherever it might be, that's going to be a big deal. It's going to make people want to invest in this technology.
Right. Well, and the idea of kind of supplemental charging, right? Because if I'm charging at home, I mean, I don't need it at the kid's doctor because it's 10 minutes from my house, so I'm probably not burning range on that one too. But you don't want to have it. We've talked about range anxiety. We've hit that before too. To that point when you get that number of chargers, you don't want to have to worry about where am I plugging in next, right? You just want to be able to go, and it'll be interesting. We had the interview about the infrastructure bill and its impact too. We touched on earlier in one of the earlier episodes. So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And when we're talking about, it's funny because when we're talking about we're either talking about trucking or we're talking about passenger vehicles. We haven't really gotten into, electric bikes, electric scooters, or electric four-wheelers, all these different electric vehicles that are coming out that people are interested in buying. And, if you have an electric four-wheeler, it's going to be more difficult to find an electric charging station on the road because you're off-road, typically.
Sure.
There is a company called Taiga that is launching its own off-road charging network. This is really interesting because, just about we're talking like off-road trails, we're talking waterways. Yeah. It's going to come to the point where if you need a charge, you're going to find a place to charge.
Right. On the commercial side, I have to say, though, all this is very cool. Seeing the picture locally is very cool. Commercial fleets, though, it's still very localized to their location in terms of infrastructure, right? The fleets aren't really depending on the Walmarts of the world to put in charging.
You're not going to see a heavy-duty truck at the bank.
No, it's probably not going to fill it. You will probably see it at Walmart, but I don't know if it'll fit in the space. At the bank, you never know. If you're desperate, you can pull right up there, I guess. But still, even in the past couple months, big investment on the commercial side. I'm going to start with the manufacturing giant, Ford. Mm-hmm. Ford is going big into electric. And this isn't just talk. The headlines keep coming.
Yeah.
They have ramped up production of the F-150 Lightning, which I think is going to be really big. The electric version of the truck, vehicle, I forget what their tagline is, but everybody has one. You just get, if you're an American, you just get an F-150 at some point in your life. I guess it just happens.
Yeah.
And even me, that would be I don't know. But now, the Lightning version, all right, maybe I want that.
It's funny you should say that. I just had a phone call with a friend not that long, maybe a month or so ago. He's never been a truck guy, doesn't need a truck in any way, but he's saying, man, these new F-150s, I got to tell you, I might get one. Yeah. It's got the generator. It could, make electricity in your house if you need it. It's pretty cool.
It's the technology crossover, which is just kind of cool, right? It's
for
fuzzy.
Sure.
But Ford Pro, so this is their segment that really focuses on the commercial segment, right? So they'll have the Lightning, which will find its way in the commercial applications to some degree too, right? Mm-hmm. Lots of fleets that run all sorts of size trucks, also run pickup trucks just because, especially if you're in the different niche applications, construction, municipalities,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
For sure.
You're running pickup trucks. But Ford Pro supports commercial. Oh, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the electric Transit too. I mean, who doesn't see like Amazon vans and the like pulling up in front of your house daily, right? So the e-Transit, which is the Transit, one of the biggest selling vans in the market, going electric. Lots of commercial applications there too. Lots of upfit opportunities there too. Ford Pro's charging solutions, basically Ford's consulting to get electrification and charging infrastructure where you need it, right? So Ford is getting into the charging infrastructure game. They are anticipating the charging industry need to grow to 900,000 full-size trucks and vans in the U.S. by 2030.
Oh, wow.
So, and that is what they're anticipating. Well, clearly, and that's what they want to sell, right? Like, hey, let's sell that number, all those vehicles. But not just them, but they want to be a partner. So they're partnering with companies to be able to do that. And partnering really in the commercial space is the name of the game. So I got kind of a lightning round of headlines to throw at you real quick. Are you ready?
Throw them at me.
You ready for this? Okay, so PACCAR, which manufactures Kenworth and Peterbilt trucks, and they have their electric trucks. Also have their charging solution. It's been on the market for a while since they've launched their trucks here. Gosh, I always have to think about the year now the 2020s are forgotten, but it was in the fall of 2020. They've been bringing their electric trucks to market. They have their PACCAR charging solution, but they are partnered with Schneider Electric and NTAC to provide those. Of course, we have on the Daimler Trucks North America side, we got Detroit e-fill stations, right? So they have their own lineup of commercial vehicle chargers. And I think the real takeaway is like OEMs are getting into the charging game, right? They might be white labeling someone else's solution, partnering, it's all just kind of different how they're tailoring that. One of the biggest announcements just before the holidays too. I mean, if you're going to drop this kind of a thing and then everybody just goes on vacation. So it made a big splash and it gave you something to think about. Daimler Trucks, Volvo, Traton, three
very big
names, big competitors. They have signed a binding agreement to create a joint venture to install and operate a high-performance public charging network for battery, electric, heavy-duty, long-haul trucks and buses across Europe.
Europe.
Okay.
So it makes sense, though. It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, because you all got to come together to build this kind of infrastructure. Europe, again, is still way ahead of us in terms of progressiveness of rolling this stuff out.
And the heavy-duty routes tend to be, much smaller.
Much smaller.
So it totally makes sense.
But, and I must throw out the caveat that kind of the scuttle that I've heard with my contacts throughout the industry is that they've been very clear that this is a Europe-only thing.
I see.
But, and this is pure Jason Morgan speculation, right? So you can put a little disclaimer there, really long list of like lawyer stuff that like they make us put when Jason Morgan starts talking about stuff he doesn't understand. Investment being what it is, scale being what it is, even if we don't see that in brand come to market, they're going to learn a lot of lessons. They're going to develop a lot of solutions, right? Absolutely. What that means in terms of how then the individual brands roll it out to like the North American market. Just saying, you don't throw money at something and just go, well, we'll just use it here.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting news. That's big.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Reminds me of the cell-centric news a little bit with Daimler and Volvo coming together to create that fuel cell entity.
Well, and what I think it speaks to is really the need for this evolution of transportation, right? I mean, we've talked a lot with Peter Verhoeven on the North American side of Volvo Trucks, right? He's North American president and CEO on the Volvo side. I mean, and this is, he is passionate about this. He believes in it. He wants to do it. I think Volvo as a whole, globally, is passionate about it. I think all three of these companies are passionate about it. And while they've said many times they're still major competitors, they still deliver their own unique solutions. It does kind of indicate that these global shifts that need to happen can't just be done by one company or one person, right? Everybody's got to pull their own weight. We've seen fleet managers
100%.
investing in it. We've seen passenger side investing on it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting just to see the developments and be along for this ride. One more fun one, too.
Okay.
You mentioned the infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
So Eaton, which I think is synonymous a lot with transmissions in the heavy-duty commercial space. They do a lot of electrical infrastructure architecture work on the vehicles as well, right? But they announced a $4.9 million award from the U.S. Department of Energy to reduce the cost and complexity of deploying direct current, so DC fast-charging electric vehicle infrastructure. So even they're getting into the charging game. So OEM suppliers all jumping into this. And it's just really, really an interesting time right now to see all the investment going in. It's really, I think on the commercial side, if we've seen fleets getting into it and figuring out who their partners are to put the infrastructure in, now it's starting to get a little wider in scope, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Charging is so interesting because there are so many different technologies being invested in and deployed and tested that we don't know what the future is going to look like, especially when it comes to heavy duty, I feel like. Right. I don't know if you saw the announcement, Wave and Kenworth. So Wave, they have these wireless mats.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That you can put down, and Kenworth, obviously a trucking manufacturer,
Yep,
they can put their electric trucks over these mats. They're testing these together to try to wirelessly do this. Now it's a very small test that they're trying to do with this. Right. They're just kind of seeing how it works out. Right. But the fact that they're trying this, I mean, can you imagine what that could mean for trucking in general? I mean, that would be huge if this takes off. So just seeing all of these different ways that people are thinking about charging. I even saw one company, this was a European-only thing, but the way that they install chargers, this is for passenger cars now, but they literally have the chargers. So you think of these big obelisks when you think of a charging station. They build them under the ground. Right. And then they have just a little kind of, it almost looks like a keg tap in some way or something that kind of emerges from the ground with a little charging cord, and you charge your car in there. So I mean, there's so many different things that you can do in this space, and it's just evolving by the day, and it's really exciting.
Right. Well, I mean, we talked to Rich Moore not long ago, and one of the things ChargePoint can do, for example, too, is like they can hang it. They can hang their charger and then bring your cables down, right? So if you're in a truck service operation or buses, right? They put them right up their buses, and then they can, it's just out of the way. You're not running into it. You kind of reduce the risk of someone kind of driving over it by accident, right? Or banging into it if you're backing up vehicles or anything like that. So yeah, lots of really cool things. And going back to the earlier picture where we saw it locally, I don't know, we need to put like we can cut to the what's happening, it's happening GIF right now. So if we can get a good GIF, something like it's happening. It's happening. I think that's a fun takeaway.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, Jason, this was fun.
Always.
Thank you for joining me once again on the Amped EV podcast.
Yeah, amped to be here.
I too am amped. It was great hanging out with you. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.